Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight. Well, crime in London, our capital city, and across the country feels to many like it's been spiralling out of control in recent times.
But in London we have V100, which are the 100 most prolific, dangerous people the police target.
Good evening. Counter-terrorism police in the UK have been called in after a mass stabbing attack on a passenger train.
It began on a train. 10 stabbed, 2 fighting for life. But the shock didn't stop at Huntington Station. It traveled straight to Buckingham Palace. As London bleeds, the country has erupted. Over 120,000 Britons have taken to these streets from Trafalgar Square to Westminster, demanding one thing: Khan's resignation.
Not just being safe, but feeling safe. Cleaner air and a healthier city.
For years, the mayor promised safety. Instead, knife crime is up 52%, robberies 34%, and London now leads Europe in violent crime. Inside the palace, alarm bells ring. King Charles III is said to be deeply troubled that Britain's leaders have forgotten their first duty to protect their people. One city bleeds, one king watches. Khan offers excuses. The king demands accountability. This isn't just a protest. It's a reckoning London turned against its own mayor. The morning after London woke up to its reflection, sirens, barricades, and disbelief. Outside City Hall, thousands gathered with candles, flags, and fury. This is not hate, like one woman said. This is heartbreak. Inside Westminster, MPs traded blame. The mayor called for patience. The people called it betrayal, and while London trembled, the palace remained silent until a single message leaked from a royal aide. His Majesty believes silence is no longer an option. By sunset, every network carried the same headline: Britain bleeds and the palace watches. The city had reached its breaking point, not just from violence, but from disbelief. What broke London wasn't crime. It was confidence. Since KHN took office, over 950,000 crimes are recorded every year across the capital, more than any city in Western Europe. Behind those numbers lie 15,000 knife attacks, 18,000 sexual assaults, and 116,000 phone thefts each year. Yet, fewer than 2 in every 100 cases ever lead to conviction. And the most chilling part, it could have been stopped just one day before the train attack. The same suspect was caught on CCTV storming into a London barber shop. Waving a knife, he terrified customers, slashed a 14-year-old boy, and vanished into the streets. Police were called, but no alert reached the transport network. No warning reached the stations. 24 hours later, that same man boarded a London-bound train and 11 people were bleeding before the city even knew his name. London didn't fall overnight. It fell one ignored warning at a time. The Metropolitan Police has spent over £17 billion under KHN's watch, but response times are nearly 40% slower than when he began. Inside the force, 1 in 3 officers admits morale is beyond recovery. And on these streets, 58% of residents now say the mayor should resign. Even the palace feels the pressure. Insiders say King Charles now reads every report that crosses from Westminster to Buckingham, word for word. This isn't misfortune, it's failure in command. A city drowning in crime, led by a man drowning in excuses. London no longer trusts its mayor or the system that protects him. The silence is over. The demand is clear. Khan must go. It began as mourning and became a movement. By nightfall, London was burning with light, not fire, but flares, cameras, and anger. Crowds surged from Trafalgar Square to Whitehall, chanting one name with one demand: Khan must go. Sirens wailed, but no honoring. From balconies, people raised flags. From rooftops, the crowd looked endless, red, white, and blue stretching beyond the river. Then came the clash. Smoke rose above Parliament Bridge. Protesters broke through the first police line, waving Union Jacks beneath the floodlights.
Not just being safe, but feeling safe. Cleaner air and a healthier city.
It's London defending itself since the mayor won't. The chants rolled through Westminster so loud they reached the gates of Downing Street. Inside, aides whispered of emergency meetings. Outside, thousands refused to leave. In Buckingham Palace, the king watched insolence. Hands clasped as Britain demanded answers his ministers could not give. City Hall issued one line: "We are monitoring the situation." The streets had spoken, the crown had heard, and London, once silent, had found its roar. By dawn, the crowds had not dispersed. They stood shoulder to shoulder in the freezing air, wrapped in flags and defiance. The chants had softened into something deeper, almost solemn. "Who protects us now?" a veteran shouted from the front line. "If not them, then we will." News helicopters circled above Parliament Square. The footage showed a nation that had crossed the line from anger to awakening. For the first time in decades, the people weren't just demanding leadership, they were becoming it. Meanwhile, inside City Hall, Khan's advisors huddled in silence. Windows were shuttered, curtains drawn. "This isn't sustainable," one aide admitted off camera. "We're not governing anymore. We're just reacting." Across the river, a palace guard whispered to a journalist. "The king hasn't slept. He's reading everything." What began as one night of rage had become something larger. A crisis saw faith in every institution once thought unshakable. In the following hours, the movement spread beyond London. From Birmingham to Manchester, Liverpool to Leeds. Tens of thousands poured into the streets holding the same sign: "No safety, no city." Banners showed photos of the train victims beside empty police helmets. At every march, one question echoed: where was the mayor? In Tower Hamlets, protesters blocked the main road chanting, "One rule for them, none for us." In Westminster, an officer was filmed removing his helmet and joining the crowd. It went viral within minutes. "That was the moment," said one broadcaster, when even the police stopped pretending this was normal. Online petitions demanding KHN's resignation crossed 3 million signatures in less than 24 hours. The Home Office insisted the situation is under review, but the people were done waiting. They were no longer pleading for change. They were demanding it. That evening, as Parliament met in emergency session, opposition MPs accused the government of abdicating its duty to public safety. One backbencher shouted, "If London falls, the nation follows." In the chamber, Khan's allies looked hollow. Reports circulated that the palace had requested direct briefings from the Home Secretary, bypassing the mayor's office entirely, a sign of constitutional unease or royal intervention. No one could say for sure, but the symbolism was unmistakable. The king was losing patience. Outside, protesters projected a message onto the walls of Parliament: Britain deserves better. Inside, the Prime Minister called for calm, but calm was gone. Britain was awake now, and it would not go back to sleep. By nightfall, clashes reignited around Westminster Bridge. Riot police advanced in waves, shields raised against a rain of bottles and chants. But this time, the crowd didn't retreat. Veterans stood at the front singing, "God Save the King." Their voices echoed in every single revolution on their way to school. It's reclamation, staring at faces that looked like their single image defined the night, a woman holding a blood-stained flag whispering for the ones who bled. That line became the headline across the morning papers. At dawn, after 2 days of unrest, City Hall remained barricaded. Khan appeared briefly before cameras, pale and defiant. "I understand the pain people feel," he said, "but violence solves nothing." His words were met with silence. For many, it was too late. Their petitions had surpassed 5 million. The country had made its verdict. The question was no longer whether Khan would resign, but whether London would forgive. Across the river, a royal motorcade left Buckingham Palace without statement. No one knew where it was headed, but the symbolism was clear. The crown had entered the conversation. As the sun rose over Westminster, the last of the protesters stood facing the palace, holding signs stray with ash undrained. Duty, one read, "Protect Britain." In that silence, something shifted. For the first time in years, the people felt seen. Not by the mayor, not by the parliament, but by the king. Britain's oldest institution had spoken without words, and the streets had answered. History isn't over. It's only beginning. London has remembered its voice. The question now is whether its leaders remember their duty. Because when a nation's trust is broken, it doesn't just protest, it rises. Subscribe to stay with us, because what comes next will decide not just who governs London, but who still deserves to.